the hurdle to entry or the barrier to entry into GovCon is significantly high enough that you having a clearance isn't necessarily your business having a clearance, right? Well, I don't say necessarily. It is not. It's not the same
Right.
thing. And so, someone who thinks they're the question about whether they're a contractor or not, that's not the question I've had. It's people thinking they're a company or not, right? Like I have a tax ID number,
Mhm.
and I am I'm a 1099. I have all my paperwork, and here's my you know my here's how I meet the requirement, and pay me this dollar amount. And then you're like, okay, sure, you meet this
Yeah.
requirement, but now you're your own business. And then you have to, well, I want a subcontract, and I want to say, well, I can't have any subcontractors on this thing, or I can't have second tier because I'm a sub. Or there's all kinds of different nuances. And so you run across the new business owners who are saying, okay, well, can you give me a second person? I'll take your job. I'll be your database engineer, but I need you to give me another position to be your database engineer. And then it's like, well, do you have a facilities clearance? Do what NAICS, do you have your NAICS codes? Do you have, and then they look at you like what are you talking about? I've never heard of any of those things. I'm a database engineer.
Right.
And it's like, well, we're not going to train you on how to be a business per se, but like, here's some links, here's some articles, but for right now, here's your 1099, please fill it out. Like, we'll get you paid. And I'd say that that's probably the thing that we deal with now more than anything is some of the more senior, you know, engineering rates. Those guys have figured out that, we're going to be 1099, we'll do our own. And so with those, you experience a lot of stuff because usually they're guys who, come from the government. They've left some other job, some other thing, and they have some expertise, and they're like, "Nope, I'm going to be my own business, and I want to make
Like,
$210 an hour."
yeah.
And then you're like, "Okay, great." And then 2 weeks goes by, they go, "Where's my paycheck?
Mhm.
What are my benefits?" And I go, "Whoa, you're a 1099."
It's
So there's always confusion there for whatever reason.
So now, I mean, when you guys have the not that you have any prima donna 1099s, and not that I'm certainly none of yours are. So when you say whatever you say, you're not talking about anybody in
course.
particular. But when y'all have one of those, who has to deal? Is that you or is that Mike that has to deal with them?
Oh, me. I have the blessed opportunity to speak with these people firsthand and discuss with them in depth, what the details of their contract is and why they can't do that. It's not allowed. But I'm happy to sometimes, most times.
I've never been happy to do it. I mean, just for it. Now, how far? So, do you have you had repeat hand holding sessions, or do you find that it typically they kind of it gets easier where
So
they go away?
because I don't know everything, I think people trying to ask me questions and they'll keep coming at me. But once I involve, somebody above me, they're quick to be like, oh, okay, my fault. I didn't think I when you put all those words in there, I'll step back. And so, I think that once it's escalated, it's really not a big deal. But
I got you. Yeah, I've definitely had the retired out of the government or retired from a very senior technical role at a contractor and got to the point where they were allowed to be a 1099 because nobody could tell them that they couldn't.
exactly.
And well, that's also why, because the complexity of GovCon, there's a lot of things that you can't do for everybody, and even if your contract says, well, everybody has to work out of the office, and then everybody goes like, what about them? Well, he's allowed to. Why? Well, they wrote a justification for it. Why? Well, I don't know. They just did, and there's the special circumstances, the because that used to be working remotely,
Yeah.
where you'd be like, well, who's that? Oh, they work from their house. They get to do that. That's a little
Yeah.
bit more. Uh,
I had an engineer that lived in like a mountain in Colorado, and we had to reimburse him for some kind of satellite because his internet wasn't fast enough. And it was specific. The customer wanted this person because this person had the specific experience and know-how. So we, hired this guy on a mountain in Colorado and paid for him to have some satellite so he could have internet or some kind of antenna that spoke to some satellite that he could have an antenna. And this was a while back before we had,
Go run it and get
Uh,
Starlink, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
before we had Starlink everywhere, right? So I mean, so what happens? But I think though, I think that that goes with being a good GovCon though, right? Being able to differentiate when you push for a justification to make something happen versus when you're rigid and you go, no, we're not doing that. And I think that's the difference. And you get a lot of people sometimes who are very, you know, black and white. It is this way
They
or it's
know,
the highway.
and that's what
Yeah,
it is. And they
yeah.
need to be educated because you don't fully understand what you're talking about. And that's okay.
Well, because there's so many rules. And also, I mean, I think the average person understanding you can't compare yourself to somebody on another contract. You can't compare yourself to a government person. I mean, I know I've had this conversation a whole bunch of times about I have the same job as that person, and why do we get paid differently? Because it's not technically the same job. Like if you look at the labor category and the whatever, well, but their labor category says they have to have 8 years of experience. I have 8 years of experience. Why am I not in that labor category? Because that's not what we hired you into. Yes, you qualify for more than that, but that we hired you in this role, and that's what the nuances of just there's so much that's so different. So my fun question for you is so I mean I know you've been doing op stuff, ISO stuff, all of that. When your friends ask you what you
This is a
do
good
for a
question.
job, because I will give for context for this, I will tell you that because right, everybody that goes around and you sit around and you talk to people and it's like, so what do you do? I'm an accountant, and people know what that means. They might not know the details, but they in general, right? What do you do? Oh, I'm a dentist. Well, what do you do? I do hair. Okay, well, what do you do? I sell shoes. How do you explain to your friends what it is that you do?
Um, I actually use my title and I say I'm the operations manager. And I actually either maybe they don't care.
Do they ever ask what that means?
I mean, yeah, I've explained some of the things that I do during the day, but I think that people kind of just assume it's a catch-all, which they
Yeah.
would be correct to assume. So,